What happens after Election Day in the United States 2020? We just got done voting, and the polls are closed, officially November 3rd. Here's the problem. Do you know what happens after the election? While it's true that Joe Biden is the projected winner of the 2020 presidential election, he still has months to go before being officially inaugurated as the 46th president of the United States of America. In this video, I will go over the process that happens after the polls close and up to when the president-elect is officially inaugurated as president of the United States. I will attempt to make everything simple and easy to understand so everything is clear, and by the end of this video, hopefully you have a better understanding of the process of the election after the polls have closed. I will also share with you special dates of important events leading up to Inauguration Day. It is important to know, on the first Tuesday in November of any election year, the candidate that is announced the winner is just purely a projection based on the vote count for that day. This projection has a good chance of being correct based on past results. Most states start and finish counting their official votes after Election Day. While after an election, a candidate is named a winner of the popular vote according to the polls, they are not officially in office yet, and their supporters will still have to hold their breath until Inauguration Day. Vote counting goes on for weeks after Election Day. In case you didn't know this, 2020 was a bit of a crazy year. There was a little thing called Corona. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, tallying the votes this year for the 2020 presidential election was delayed and took longer than in previous years. The fact remains, you should look out for key dates leading up to inauguration. The first date, December 8th. December 8th is a deadline for states to certify election results and choose their electors. This deadline is also known as a safe harbor deadline. Think of it as a due date to submit your assignment to a teacher so they can tally up your score. December 14th. December 14th is when the members of the Electoral College cast their ballots for the president and vice president. These are the votes that truly count when voting for the president. I'm not saying that your vote doesn't count, but this is the most important date when electing the president. January 6th of the next year. January 6th is when a joint session of Congress will count the Electoral College votes and finally officially declare the winner for the presidency of the United States of America. Last but not least, January 20th. January 20th is Inauguration Day. This is the day when the new president and vice president will be inaugurated into Washington at the U.S. Capitol. Now, to explain more about how the Electoral College works. When you cast your ballot, you are telling your Electoral College in your region that you want to vote for this candidate. You are not necessarily voting for this candidate directly. It is the Electoral College that ultimately casts the official ballot for the president and who wins in the end. You are telling your electors to elect the candidate of your choice to be president. There has been a long and heated debate as to the legitimacy of the Electoral College. Can you really trust the electors in your state to vote for the winning presidential candidate for that state? The law states that electors ought to pledge for the winning candidate of the state. But this is not always the reality, and electors have been found to violate that pledge several times. There was a case back in 2016 in Washington state when electors voted for candidate Colin Powell instead of Hillary Clinton, when Hillary Clinton was the favorite candidate for that state since she won the popular vote in Washington. Congress got wind of this issue and they penalized and fined those electors who broke their pledge and voted for the candidate other than the popular vote in Washington state. While this is not the norm in presidential elections, as seen in this case in 2016, it does happen. Apparently, the 2016 incident was the first time in 4 decades when the pledge was broken by members of the Electoral College. The number of electors in each state vary depending on the size of the population of that state. How many electors a state gets depends on the total number of representatives the state has in the United States Congress. The Electoral College, in total, forms exactly 538 people that act as electors. The candidate that gets 270 electoral votes in total wins the presidential election. However, this is what happens only after December 8th. Going back to the dates, all of this with the Electoral College only happens after December 8th, when the deadline for tallying votes for all states has ended. Crazy, right? What happens on November 3rd is the projected count at that time, not the actual winner. The key word is projected. The due date is December 8th, when all the states must submit what presidential candidate officially wins for that state. And hopefully by now, you have a better understanding of what happens after a U.S. presidential election. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.